Hello and a warm welcome to the AI with Arun show. One of the most pressing topics in finance and tech today is AI washing. What does AI washing actually mean? And why should investors care? That is the exact topic of discussion in today's video. Now, you know it that we are in the middle of an AI gold rush, meaning companies are spending billions and investors are pouring in money into anything with an AI label. But where there is a gold rush, there are snake oil salesmen. The Security and Exchange Commission, or the SEC, is now waging an aggressive campaign, what their own chair has called a war against companies that lie or exaggerate about their AI use. Our goal today is to give you the inside track what AI washing is, the heavy fines companies are paying, and most importantly, how you can spot the difference between genuine innovation and simple fraud. So let's start the story. To understand the fight, we have to define the enemy, which is AI washing. For months, the SEC leadership has issued repeated warnings about this practice. It happens when a business either falsely claims the use of AI or machine learning models or fundamentally misrepresents the application or scope of that technology. Now, why does the SEC care? Because in the world of securities law, this is not just harmless marketing buzz. The SEC treats AI washing as classical securities fraud. Now, this is critical. Regulators are saying that statements related to AI claims may be material to individuals' investing decisions. If a company tells you its profits are driven by proprietary AI and that claim is false, they are deceiving you, the investor, and that is illegal. The concern is simple. Businesses are misrepresenting or exaggerating the use of AI to attract capital or inflate stock prices. You are an investor or work in a company using AI, you must recognize this behavior. The SEC's strategy is simple, fascinating, and incredibly aggressive. Usually, when a major new technology emerges, the SEC spends years writing specific new rules. But with AI, they have done a strategic pivot. They have formally stepped back from new prescriptive AI rules. Instead, they have adopted an aggressive, targeted enforcement posture using the anti fraud statutes that have been on the books for decades. SEC Chair Gary Gensler actually dubbed this focus the Commission's war on AI fraud. This means the old rules still apply. Regardless of how new and complex the technology is, the standards of accuracy and fidelity are non negotiable. The SEC is essentially shifting its methodology from preventive rulemaking, trying to stop the problem before it starts, to post facto accountability, punishing misrepresentation and fraud after the fact. The key takeaway for every company is that you must have a reasonable basis for your claims and ensure all statements about AI use are not false or misleading. The burden of proof is on the company. Now, the shift to aggressive enforcement became very real in March 2024 with the first major settlements. These cases set a foundational precedent confirming the SEC means business. The SEC charged two investment advisors, Delphia USA Inc. and Global Predictions Inc., specifically using Section 206 of the Investment Advisors Act, which targets fraudulent or deceptive conduct. Let's look at Delphia first. The SEC alleged that the company made numerous false statements in filings, advertisements, and press releases about using AI to analyze client data to predict successful companies and trends. They claimed their AI made investment decisions more robust and accurate. And the shocking part, despite making versions of these claims since 2019, Delphia admitted in a 2021 examination that they had not made such use of client data and had not created the claim algorithm. They agreed to pay a $225,000 civil penalty. But the case of Global Predictions was similar. They falsely claimed on their website that their technology incorporated expert AI driven forecasts and marketed themselves as the first regulated AI financial advisor. They settled, paying a $175,000 civil penalty. Now, these settlements send a clear message. Generic marketing buzzwords without verifiable technical reality constitute fraud. Now, let's look at two cases that show just how far this deception goes and how high the stakes can get. First, we have Rockwell Capital Management. Brian Sewell and his company settled fraud charges related to a hedge fund scheme that never even launched. Among other claims, Sewell falsely told investors that his investment strategies would be guided by and benefit from non existent AI, machine learning algorithms, and a machine learning model. This is the very definition of phantom AI used solely to lure capital. But it gets even more serious when the Department of Justice or the DOJ gets involved. The case involving Nate Inc. demonstrates the nexus with criminal fraud. Nate allegedly raised over $42 million dollars from investors, claiming their platform used AI to process transactions automatically. In reality, investigators found the transactions were processed manually by contract workers sitting in foreign countries. Now, this level of intentional material misrepresentation can trigger not just SEC civil penalties, but parallel criminal actions for wire fraud and securities fraud. If you are lying about AI to raise money, the government sees you as victimizing investors and diverting capital from legitimate startups. So, if companies want to avoid becoming the next SEC headline, what are the non negotiable rules for talking about AI? The SEC demands meticulous adherence to disclosure principles. These principles are anchored in three concepts: materiality, specificity, and a demonstrable, reasonable basis for all AI claims. First, companies must be extremely careful with disclosures and statements. They must treat public statements about AI use with the same rigor as other material risk. Second, consistency is key. The SEC will scrutinize statements across all platforms: official SEC filings, press releases, corporate websites, client communications, and social media. Inconsistent claims across different channels dramatically increase exposure to anti fraud charges. And finally, the SEC warns against AI washing. By avoiding vague generalizations or using AI simply as a buzzword, it's not enough to say you use AI. You have to prove it and show it how. When the SEC demands high quality disclosures, they are not looking for vague marketing copy. They are looking for contextualized details. You must clearly define the AI involved, explain its use in depth, and provide concrete examples useful to investors. Furthermore, you must distinguish clearly between current verifiable AI capabilities, what the technology does today, and future projections, what you hope it will do tomorrow. The cornerstone of compliance is the reasonable basis requirement. Issuers must ensure that they have a reasonable basis for the claim that they are making about their AI use and be prepared to defend those claims with evidence. Disclosures should be specific to the operational, legal, and competitive risk the individual company faces, not just boilerplate text. If you claim that your AI can analyze 1,000 data points per second, you must be able to back up that claim with supporting material like model validation logs or testing results. The shift in disclosure quality is perhaps most visible in the risk factor sections of company filings. Disclosing AI related risks is now mandatory, not optional. We have seen a massive ninefold increase in publicly traded firms, including AI risk factors, compared to just 2023. Companies are now required to detail the known unknowns associated with AI. Now, reputation and bias section covers the risk of the AI model being discriminatory, biased, or simply wrong, leading to reputational damage. AI tools require massive amounts of data, making them vulnerable. Risks included security breaches, confidential data compromise, and threats like AI enabled deepfakes. Companies must also disclose risks related to non compliance with existing laws, like HIPAA, for example, and new emerging laws such as the EU AI Act. And then there are operational risks relates to relying on third-party AI providers or facing errors such as erroneous transactions. And here is a critical cross-functional risk the SEC is scrutinizing. Whether deploying AI may inadvertently cause existing internal controls related to privacy protection to be bypassed or avoided without proper oversight. AI can erode established compliance frameworks, and the SEC demands you disclose that risk. The SEC believes that AI risk starts and ends in the boardroom. They expect comprehensive, defensible corporate governance. For the board of directors, AI must be integrated into their enterprise risk management frameworks. Directors must be proactive, directing management to conduct periodic reviews specifically focused on AI risks, data governance, and vendor oversight. In the financial sector, this ties directly into the fiduciary duty of care. If an investment advisor fails to ensure the reliability of its automated trading models or fails to implement written policies and procedures to monitor those models, the SEC views them as a breach of fiduciary duty. The SEC's Division of Exams, is prioritizing reviews to see if registrants have adequate policies and procedures to supervise AI use in critical functions, including trading, fraud prevention, back office operations, and anti money laundering or AML. Governance is not optional, it's an absolute requirement. Now, since the SEC pulled back from writing specific AI rules, robust internal documentation has become the single most critical substitute for those external mandates. It's your essential defense against future enforcement actions. Firms must establish a multidisciplinary AI review board, including legal, compliance, and engineering teams, to vet all public statements before they go out. This board must enforce clear documentation requirements to substantiate a reasonable basis for any claim. You need mandatory review of technical evidence, model validation, reports, and performance metrics. Furthermore, your disclosure controls must cover investor presentations, press releases, social media, and client marketing to ensure ironclad consistency. If you claim your model predicts stock movements, your internal documentations must memorialize the technical architecture, the data sources, the model governance, the role of human oversight, and the specific limitations of that system. In reality, most companies don't build all their AI. They license it from third parties. And when you rely on third party capabilities and features and talk about them in public disclosures, the SEC expects you to conduct thorough, specialized, AI specific diligence. You cannot outsource the fraud risk. Now, what does this diligence involve? It goes beyond checking the contract. You must verify the accuracy of the third party's claims. You must gain a deep understanding of the technology's functions and limitations. You must review the vendor's responsible AI policies. Critically, you must conduct proof of concept testing to verify the legitimacy, accuracy, and actual performance of that technology. The Division of Examinations staff are specifically looking at how registrants protect against loss or misuse of client records when using third party AI models and tools. If your vendor fails, you are still responsible to the SEC and your investors. If you think companies are running complex AI, you should know that SEC is running its own sophisticated AI, creating what we call technological asymmetry. The SEC is actively leveraging its own data analytics tools known as supervisory technology or SupTech. They have established an AI task force and created a chief AI officer role to formalize this effort. The use of AI and large language models allows the regulator to efficiently sift through sprawling data sets, thousands of filings, tips, and complaints to identify potential misconduct. This means the SEC can rapidly identify inconsistencies between your official filings, your website, your marketing materials, and your social media posts. They can cross reference everything instantly. To counter this powerful surveillance, compliance departments must strategically deploy their own compliance technology or RegTech regulation technology for continuous internal surveillance, proactively identifying and correcting unsupported claims before the SEC's AI flags the issue. To truly appreciate the SEC's current enforcement strategy, we need to understand the regulatory path that they abandoned. In 2023, the SEC proposed broad new rules to address conflicts of interest posed by predictive data analytics (PDA) and similar technologies, which explicitly included AI, machine learning, and neural networks. The proposed rules defined a covered technology broadly as any analytical tool that optimizes for, predicts, guides, forecasts, or directs investment related behaviors or outcomes. The mandate was radical. Firms would have been required to identify any conflict of interest that placed the firm's interest ahead of the investors and then eliminate or neutralize the effects of that conflict. This was a major departure from the traditional model of simple disclosure and consent. However, under new SEC leadership in 2025, these proposed PDA rules, along with 13 others, were formally withdrawn during a regulatory reset. This reset confirmed the strategic shift. Instead of creating complicated new AI rules, the SEC would focus its regulatory power entirely on aggressive enforcement using the anti fraud laws already on the books. So, we have covered the SEC's war on AI washing, the precedents they have set, and the tough compliance standards that they demand. Now, here are the three most critical takeaways for you, our audience, the investors, and consumers to protect yourselves. 1. Scrutinize the specifics. Be extremely wary of broad marketing statements that simply list AI or machine learning. Look for companies that provide contextualized details, specific examples, verifiable functionality, and transparent risk factors. Successful SEC enforcement actions target generic claims that lack a verifiable and reasonable basis. 2. Look for consistency. Always check if a company's exciting AI claims on their website or social media match their formal, legally binding disclosures in SEC filings. Inconsistencies are a serious red flag that the company must be exposing itself to fraud charges. 3. Demand governance and proof. If a company is using AI for critical functions, they must disclose how they manage key risks like bias, like data security, and third party reliance, the risk factors. If they are an investment advisor, they should have written policies and procedures to monitor that AI. Remember the Rockwell case. If a claim sounds too good to be true because of proprietary AI, the technology may simply be non existent. The bottom line is this: the SEC's enforcement tells us that AI is not a magic shield against liability. It is just another business tool that requires accuracy and honesty. Just like a car dealer can't sell you a Honda claiming it's a rocket ship, a company can't sell you a simple algorithm claiming it's self aware superintelligence. The rules of honesty have not changed. Only the technology is being misrepresented. With that, we come to the end of the show. Please click on the bell icon so that you can be notified of all future videos on the AI with Arun show. And if you learned anything in the video, please like, share, and subscribe to the AI with Arun show. Thank you so much for watching.